Hey, how's it going? I'm Mike Squires, and this is Couch Riffs Podcast, episode number 176. And my guest, Marcus Farrar of Antibalas. Marcus is a killer drummer. In Antibalas, he sings and plays Shaker Ray. If you don't know what Shaker, you'll see in the image of the podcast here this sort of giant. It almost looks like a distorted hand drum slash gourd with a web of like a beaded web thing around it. Um, it's crazy. Oh, and he played one on a Couch Riffs video. Duh. So, um, what a he's got a really cool story, really cool history, and it was a genuine pleasure to talk to him. This is the first time we've spoke, so um, I really enjoyed editing his video performances when I did the Couchers video, the Red Hot Chili Pepper song that he sang and played Shaker Ray on, and um, we were introduced by Timo, who also appeared in that episode, who's a mutual friend of ours, longtime mutual friend. So, uh, you know, uh, I knew he was going to be super cool, and I was right. Of course, I was right. Sometimes you're not right about people, but you're going to be right. Um, Anyone could have been right. Yeah, the joy was just oozing. It was amazing, and um, you know, clearly that's how he lives. It's sick. I love it. Love talking to him. Love this conversation. I hope you enjoy it as much as I did. If you're enjoying the podcast, Antibalas has shows at the Brooklyn Bowl in November. Get tickets soon. Those will sell out if they're not already. And they're doing a fundraiser for BAM in Brooklyn um, with Sir Patrick Stewart. This is a fundraiser for a prestigious, establishment. So tickets are fundraiser prices. So I think you can get a table if you're a fancy man, if you're a fancy fella, fancy lady, you own some sort of big mega corporation, you can get a table for maybe 10 grand or something. Go do it. Be killer, right? And support the arts. Support the arts. I bought an Antibalas t-shirt this morning off their website. If you want to support bands, that's a great way to do it. Buy t-shirts from people. Buy their music on Bandcamp. Buy their records. People haven't been making money for a year and a half, touring musicians. And to go out on tour, it requires startup money, flights, rentals. There's a long line of stuff that you don't even, probably music lovers don't consider. They just think about like, oh, I paid this much for a ticket. Anyway, if you go out and buy a T-shirt of even one band, I've been buying a ton of T-shirts lately from I can't support everyone, but I support as many people as I can. So I recommend it, and you get some new T-shirts. So buy an Antibalas shirt. Why not? They were nominated for a Grammy last year. Holy crap, that's amazing. Okay. If you're enjoying this podcast, patreon.com/couchriffs. Okay? That's the only place you can download the audio of the cover songs we're doing. We release them almost every week. We missed last week, because I'm I'm waiting on people to deliver stuff, but I'm building 15 different cover song episodes at any given time. Like right now, there are 15 projects in process. So, varying degrees of completion, but all killer, no filler. Every one of them, banger, hit. You're going to love it. That's the only place you can download that audio. You get that before the videos go up onto YouTube and all the other places. So, And your support goes directly toward the perpetuation of this show, as well as helps me move closer to the final vision for Coutress, which is a pretty fun one. That's it. I guess that's it. Thank you to River City Guitars, rivercityguitars.com, at River City Guitars on social media. Follow them there. Their stuff goes up on social media before it goes on the website. Sells fast. If you're looking to sell a vintage piece or a collection even, get a hold of them, sales.rivercityguitars.com, at gmail.com. I wouldn't send you anywhere that I wouldn't go myself. These guys are friends. I love them, and they'll treat you right, all right? Don't forget the golden rule. Treat people the way you want to be treated. Try not to be an asshole. There is connecting to audio. Connected to audio. Look at that.
We're ready to go, man.
How you doing?
I'm doing well, man. I'm doing well. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good. It's good to see you. It's good to hear you.
Good to be seen. Good to be here. How's my sound? I'm okay?
Yeah, it's great, man. It's great.
Okay. I feel like there are these huge generators on both sides of our new apartment, and we have no furniture that's like it's sucking up sound. So I just have like 60 cycle from both sides.
Oh, that's right. You just moved.
I just moved, man. Yeah.
Worst, right? And New York, like, how long have you lived in New York? A long time, right?
I've been here for 22 years. 22 years this year. Yeah. In November it'll be 22 years. Yeah.
Where did you come to New York from?
I'm originally from North Carolina, from Charlotte. Yeah. I was born in Greensboro and then moved to Charlotte when I was 6 weeks or 6 months old.
Did you move around as a kid? I moved a shitload as a kid.
I didn't move around a lot. I was in one place from the time I was two places. Sorry. One place from baby till 4. One place from 4 till 20 when I moved out. 18, 20 when I moved out.
Well, they didn't have you carrying boxes when you were made that.
No.
4-year-old.
They spared me the.
How many times have you moved in New York? Probably a lot.
Right? Oh, in New York, yeah, no, a few times, yeah. I've been really lucky, actually, to tell you the truth. The first place that I moved into, which was a horror story, of course, because right. It's New York. It has to be a horror story. Your first place. It was
cockroach, and you're like, what?
Yeah, it was. Even before I moved into the place, I came up on a train with my good friend Gigi. It's a really great dancer who had done all this really great stuff. And I'd kind of like piggybacked on for the ride, just kind of to see, New York and like how it's going to work and what it's like. And this whole thing, I want to test the waters before I jump in. And we were pulling into Penn Station on the train. And she turns to me and she goes, "Where are you going to stay?" and I realized I hadn't thought about it. Where am I going to stay? So I call the one person I knew, this cat, and he was like, "Yeah, you can stay on my couch. It's no problem. Hey, listen, if you're planning to come here, I'm trying to start a band." And I'm like, "Yeah, keep talking." And that was how I got in. I ended up coming back about a year later with $100 in my pocket and stayed on his couch for a month. And then I stayed on the guitar player's couch for a month. And then I got my own place with the singer, actually. I was there for about a year. It was horrendous living with him. Oh, that was a band that I don't even know if we formulated a name. It was an absolute travesty. And I don't want to talk ill of anybody. They worked hard, some harder than others.
Sure.
But I could tell, when you can tell it's not really serious, it's not going to go anywhere. It's not serious, and there's not a lot of talent. The weird thing was it was wrapped up in my place to stay, and that's what made it a nightmare for my first place, because it was just like, "You're a traitor," and da-da-da. I was like, no, I want this to work. You guys just aren't good. we have to like we have to like work on being good first, and then
Right. You guys
and
have,
so and I was getting other gigs at this point, and then they were just like, what are you doing? And I was like, I want to play. I want to make money. I want to work.
never played shows.
Never played shows. Never played shows. Yeah, it was doomed to fail.
That's
And so
interesting.
it's sad, but it's one of those things. It was and I hate to say this looking back, but it was one of those lessons, that teaches you that every, thing that you're passionate about, every idea that you chase isn't the one that's gonna, really
Right.
get you there. And it was a lesson to learn that, well, keep trying, keep going. The next thing might be better.
Eyes open.
Keep your eyes open. Remember what can I curse on here?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Remember what bullshit is. You're gonna be faced with bullshit a lot. People are gonna sell you a bill of goods that aren't actually real or true.
They're gonna give you a spoonful of bullshit and tell you it's an ice cream sundae.
Exactly. So so you just keep it moving. And I found this great little place where the landlord was like, he literally he was like, I think you are a good person. You can move in. And I was like, okay. And it was like total cash situation. And he was just a nice guy, and he looked out for me.
Was that a room in a big apartment, or was that a studio in a building?
It was actually a carriage house behind an apartment. And yeah, no, total like dream situation. And as you know, I'm a drummer. This was a place where I could play drums. I could play drums in my apartment with the windows open in New York. I'm totally serious.
Were you in Brooklyn?
I was in Brooklyn, man. It was 99 Messerole Street.
So where is that?
That is, I think they were calling it North Williamsburg.
So it's Greenpoint.
Yeah. Technically, it was Bushwick. So I guess it might have been. I guess that's like northeastern Bushwick, northeastern Williamsburg. I don't know.
It was over by. Was that like Roberta's? Is that like that hood?
It was not that far out. It was still like before you got to Bushwick Ave, actually.
Okay.
Yeah.
Dude, score.
Yeah. Oh, complete score. Complete score.
You wouldn't find that today.
Oh, no way. Because I was paying $850. I was paying $850. Moved in. It was by myself. 1 bedroom. Perfectly laid out. Totally slanted. If you put a pencil on the floor, it would roll across to the other side of the place. And I would I made friends with all the rats, because I would see them so often. But it was mine, it was mine. I could practice. I got, I had all these bartending gigs, and I had a stereo, I had a TV, I had, a bed, a nice bed, things were moving. It was good. But and around that time,
I have to switch my Wi-Fi signals real quick.
Oh yeah.
Give me 10
Okay.
seconds. Are you there?
I'm here.
Good. Sorry, I was getting some choppiness and some freezing, and then yeah.
It's possible that could be me. I'm sitting right next to a little extender thing, but it might not be working perfectly.
I live out here in the country, and so it's
yeah.
And I'm in the furthest spot in the house from my router, so I'm sorry.
But you're in the closest spot to all your guitars.
That's true.
Yeah, good. Very nice back here.
So
yeah, man.
So what year is this when you find this carriage house?
That was 2001. Yeah, 2001. Because I remember my neighbor almost kicking down my door one morning and just being like, dude, I just hear from outside my apartment, dude, and I'm, totally asleep. It's like 8, 9 o'clock in the morning. I go to the door. What do you want? It's like,
Right.
he couldn't even talk, dude. He was, so he's pointing at my TV. I turn the TV on and I see the second plane fly into the building.
Right.
And I was like, what movie is this? And he's like, that's happening right now. I was like, oh, okay. What do we do? Is this okay? So we go on the roof and we just watch the smoke trail. So that was 2001. Yeah.
I don't want to linger on that for too long, but what was, I mean, I know that the general vibe was insanity. Like it was like nothing that we've experienced as a country or New
Ever.
York as a city. And New York has sustained a lot of bullshit. Speaking of bullshit, you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah. There's, I want to say there's no words, but obviously as a songwriter, I can, find some. I did a morbid, my morbid curiosity was just really, really just hitting me. And I walked into the city that day.
you did.
And I did, yeah. I walked over the Williamsburg Bridge. I wanted to see it. It was crazy. You're talking the 9/11. It was,
Yeah.
and as I was walking, like each step as I got closer and closer to the bridge was just like, you don't need to be here. You need to go home, and I got to the middle of the bridge and I'm just seeing people arm in arm in their suits and their, pantsuits, um, covered in dust. And their eyes were obviously not covered in dust. You could see the wetness from the dust and like lines down their faces. Their suits, their clothing was just completely covered in gray dust. And they're wiping their eyes. They're the one thing that I remember above all that was how deathly silent it was. Just silence. Nobody was saying, hey, I got you. Can I help you? Or nothing like that. They were just in shock. I think they were in shock. And every now and then you would hear, I saw a truck, that big box truck that just had people inside the truck, just hanging out, just standing inside the truck. And what is it? They're getting a ride to their home in the Bronx or whatever, because the truck driver was like, I'm going to the Bronx. And people just jumped in. That was crazy, man. That was crazy. I got goosebumps just now. That was pretty wild. Never forget that.
When was the first time after that you made the trip over into the city and went all the way to the site? Because it was
Good question.
quarantined and blocked off for blocks around for a while, right?
Yeah, it was. I made it as far as to the West Village. I think I didn't go that much farther. I definitely didn't go to the site. And just the flow of people and that traffic was kind of like, yeah, you don't need to be any further this way. We're all going this way.
I
So
mean,
yeah,
traveling against just like walking through one of the subway tunnels against the grain
right.
of like even that energy is intense, but
Surreal.
people have that intensity. Yeah, no, that's heavy.
Yeah, I felt as though I was invading at a certain point, because my clothes are clean, and I'm seeing all these people that are, possibly in shock, walking by me, not acknowledging anything, much less me. So at a certain point, I was just like, okay, I've gone, far enough. I've felt this feeling, and I don't need to be here. So I turned around, came home, And then, for the next week or so, just sat in front of my TV and cried, and and consoled people at the bar that I worked at.
Right.
That was pretty heavy, and I'm so glad. I'm so thankful, and grateful at that point for that bar that I worked at. I should absolutely say the name of that bar. It's no longer around. It's called Black Betty, or it was called Black Betty. Yes, it was named after the song
Uh,
Ram Jam. If you're wondering, the
Before
band.
Ram Jam, who originally wrote that song?
You know what? I don't know. I think that it was.
Was it John Lee Hooker?
That makes a lot of sense. That makes a lot of sense. John Lee, one of the Kings. I don't know. I don't know
He's
actually.
yelling right now at the both of us, like,
I know. I know. Watch it. I'm sorry, man. I'm sorry.
yeah, you have to let go of it. Let go.
Yeah, yeah. But I will tell you that the owners specifically meant for that version,
The
the
Ram
Ram Jam version of
Jam.
you, what they named it
It's
after.
such an insane version. They must have
It
been
is,
cool.
right?
They
Ding,
must have
ding,
been
ding,
cool as
ding.
hell.
Yeah, yeah. Crazy, man.
I've never talked
Hey,
to anyone
license.
who, I never talked to any. I don't think that I've talked to any. I've talked to plenty of people who were in the city then, but I haven't spoken to anyone who did what you did or who was down there in that part of town
Mm,
when it when that happened. So that's insane. This is crazy to have this conversation too because we're 3 months away from the 20th anniversary of that,
right,
which is
right.
heavy, and I'm sure
It's
the whole
it's
country.
it's heavy. Um, I remember obviously feeling very lucky that I wasn't in the towers, that I wasn't one of the victims. But you realize in a city where it's so dense, where you are on top of everybody, that you're gonna come in contact with people who lost someone. So
Yeah,
you're gonna come in contact with people that lost more than one person.
yeah,
I had so many conversations with people that said the words to me, I was supposed to be there, you
right.
know. My daughter forgot her thing at home. We had to go back home. I remember that one. I remember my kid was sick. Um, I remember those two specifically. Um, my brother was there. He had just, retired a week before. Like stuff, like near miss stories that were just heavy, man, heavy.
Stories that could have gone a lot differently. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, totally, totally. And again, I remember somebody, uh, probably a year or 2 years after that, um, passing out leaflets at the train, like on the subway, that were like, it's inside job, it's a total con, it's and I was just like, I don't think this guy was here. I don't think he knows anything about what happened, man. Because I'm not even saying that I did. I'm not, trying to draw a conclusion from out of, whole cloth. I saw a lot of people lose and miss loved ones, and you know, I'm not gonna make up a bunch of stories about it if I don't know. So
People
yeah,
people really need to some people need to fill in blanks where they're
where there aren't
their
any.
emotions can't reckon,
Mm, mm,
you know,
yeah, yeah,
because some people
absolutely.
are not equipped to process and move forward. So that's why we have fucking conspiracy theories. You can't deal with shit.
Yeah,
People,
that's a whole dude. That's a whole nother podcast.
indeed.
I have people that are close to me that I literally can't. Uh, well, I could just like totally cut them off, but yeah, it is very strange talking to somebody that is an intelligent person, or you thought was an intelligent person, and they are no longer. um, and they're telling you that, well, the children's blood is being drank by the, you're like, I do Christmases with you.
Yeah.
Like, you have children. What are
Well, the
you
other thing is,
talking
like,
about?
are the you don't have we don't have to talk about we all know people who
Right.
do these things. I mean, there are people who I deal with on a regular basis who say stuff like this also.
Yeah. Yeah.
And but the thing is, I think for the most part, the people who I deal with that believe that talk like that are not musicians and have never played a music festival. And so, if you've ever played a music festival, you get the sense very quickly that humanity is not capable of organizing on a great scale something so uh you know
Yeah.
deceptively accurate and perfect. Like, it's just not.
Right.
We're just we're smart, we're clever. We're not we're not that great at executing flawlessly.
Right. Right.
It's not.
Right. Yeah. I,
I
I
just
was,
I
I
love
was,
that Buzz dude just knocked that dude out for razzing him. You know what I'm talking about? Like Buzz,
no, with the
the guy
Buzz.
who walked on the moon, right?
Oh, yes. I
Yeah,
remember
he
that.
was getting his
I remember
cage
that. I
rattled
saw that.
by that dude,
That
and
guy's,
he just like dealt with him for the last time, and he was just like, you know
yes.
what? Eat your teeth, motherfucker.
I actually saw a newspaper. It was the front page on some paper, and it was a picture of the still of that shot of the dude. And
It
it's
looked like a
like,
Smith's cover, a Smith
oh,
single
it
cover.
was amazing. It was amazing. And I'm looking at it, I'm like, what? And they were like, yeah, this dude's been bugging him for years, saying like, oh, you filmed it in a TV studio. Yeah.
Part of me, we should move on from this stuff, but part of me hopes that every single conspiracy theory ever pitched is true.
Uh, oh yeah. Look, I would love for some of this stuff to be true, man. I would love for some of this stuff to be true. I was watching something this morning. All these fighter pilots, you've seen that stuff,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
The fighter pilots that
Oh,
are
yeah.
saying like, "Well, we're seeing so much unidentified stuff." Well, they're officially talking about it now,
Right,
and like even Barack Obama's talking about it now. He's
right,
like, "Yeah, we see a bunch of crazy shit. We don't know what the fuck it is."
right.
So yeah, I'm kind of like, do I want aliens to be in our airspace and interacting with us? Well, I if they're peaceful, why
Right.
not? But at the same time, we can't be on this planet, think that we are anywhere near an intelligent, being, an intelligent species, an intelligent, our humanity is intelligent. And say that all these other planets and all these other galaxies are just empty. There's nothing there.
Look, here's the thing. Uh, those things are fast.
Those things are fast.
Those things are fast as hell. You better hope they're friendly, because you know what?
Yeah,
Cheetahs. You know what else is fast? A cheetah. And you don't fuck around with a cheetah,
that's right.
because
That's right.
it'll eat your face, man. And
When I see something going 10 times as fast as I'm capable of going, and I'm in one of these, $30 million fighter jets, it's time to change the cord. You got to go the other way.
well, my work here is done.
Well, yeah, you've convinced me
Yeah.
that I'm right.
Yeah. Uncle.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh, yeah. I don't know. Great. Super. Maybe my I would love it if it's us.
Yeah, that was one of the thoughts. I was like, well, we're supposedly testing all this stuff. We're supposedly trying to be better than we've ever been. We're since we're the world's weapons dealers of choice, we're probably trying to outdo ourselves in military capabilities of other shit. So why couldn't that be some testing that these particular pilots don't know about?
What if
It could
it's
be
us
that
in
too.
the future, Marcus?
Oh, Yo,
Us from the future.
yo, the multiverse.
It's us time traveling back to try and unfuck.
It could definitely be us time travel. So what you're saying is there's some future us's that were like in their like
Thirteen
their
months.
their Honda Civic of space vehicles.
It could be the Tesla. I don't even know.
And they're like, yeah, and they're like, hey, we should like totally go back and like play the lottery or something. And it's yeah, it could be.
Or they could, I don't know. I don't know what it is. But I'll probably never know. Well, none
Yeah.
of us will probably know, and I'm fine with that.
And I'm fine with that. I'm fine with that. I don't want any Back to the Future,
No,
disappearance stuff happening here. That's like
no, man.
no. Nah.
Let's talk about music.
Okay.
That took a sharp, weird turn. It was great. I love it. It's not the first time I've talked about my time travel theory, the us.
Oh, well, you gotta do it. You gotta do it, man.
It's what I hope. I've never heard anyone else say it, but you know.
Look, if you've seen an episode of Rick and Morty, you're hoping I'm hoping that I can travel around. That's why I'm saying, I don't I don't discount any of that. I just don't think that we're the only things here.
Nah.
I haven't seen a UFO. They don't visit me. On my donor card right next to donor, it says anti-probing, for in case the aliens are checking.
Yeah.
But
next to mine it says kebab.
Yeah, exactly. But I wanna believe that there is that there's greener grass somewhere else in the universe. Yeah,
There's gotta be.
it's gotta be.
So you showed up in New York. Did you have a drum kit when you arrived here?
When I first came, my drum kit was actually still in North Carolina. I lived here for maybe 6 months or so without a kit, and I was just playing on kits that were in house at places. Obviously, New York is much different than a lot of other places in that most of the clubs that you go to, even if there are holes in the wall, they have a drum kit befitting a hole in the wall.
So, the entire back line.
Yeah, so that was okay for me. But I did eventually bring the Tama Swing Star up to New York. Yeah.
Nice. It's a pretty steep learning curve when you get to New York and
Oh man,
navigating the city with your shit, going to rehearsals and gigs. Even if it's like a cymbal bag and a stick bag, you're on the train, you're on the bus, you're on a bike. It's not like anywhere else. There's no parking lot.
So true. And the funny thing that I was, I'm 25, 6. I'm young, I'm spry. I've my hands are nice. And I realized like my first like 10 gigs, I was like, how is it that I was playing 7 nights a week in North Carolina. I come here, I'm playing maybe once a week, and I get to the gig, I've got all my stuff in my hands. I get to the gig and a Subway, whatever, because I'm too broke to afford a cab.
Sure.
And I sit down at the kit, and the gig's about to start, and I realize my hands are so tired from carrying all my shit.
Yeah, man.
So that was the learning curve for me, was like, make sure that all your gear is much lighter than it is now.
When did you go for that mono bag endorsement?
I went for the what was it, the backpack cymbal bag #1. That was the first thing I got. No more dragging it behind me, and then I would start calling clubs too, and I'd say, how's your kit look? What's your snare?
Right.
And if they told me it was a pretty nice snare, I'd either bring a head or I just chance it, you know.
Right.
But there were times where you'd show up to the place and the whole kit was just trash. You know, you'd spend 30 minutes trying to get it to some place of, sounding okay.
Yeah, the house engineers typically are just uninterested. They're just like,
Oh yeah,
whatever you have to say, I've heard this bullshit before. You know.
there is a requirement of sound engineers, and this is not 100% across the board, but there is in New York anyway,
Right.
in clubs, the like if you get a job as a sound engineer, you have to have these shitty, like, why are you talking to me attitude.
Well, I mean, it's the equivalent. It's like it's the industry equivalent of being a bus driver. It's like,
Yes.
in addition to a number of people getting on the bus and wanting to talk crazy shit to you, you've got
Yeah.
to deal with all this other shit. You know,
Yeah.
you've got to
And
navigate.
all your kids and all your own kids are on the bus too.
Yeah.
And they continually ask you, if they can have this and if they can have that. And so, and so, you're like, don't make me turn this around. So of course, I totally get it. And I'm in a group with 12 dudes. So, we have a system that we do now in Antibalas. We get onto the stage, and sound engineers, like monitor guys, they usually don't even know what's happening because it's so organized and it's so peaceful. We'll all walk on stage and we'll all turn to him. We'll get his name, and then he's like, and usually they're like, and you raise your hand like you're in class,
Right.
and he's like, oh, okay, yeah. What do you need? And you tell him what you need. And you go to the next person. Nobody's playing anything. Nobody's touching anything
How many
until.
monitor mixes are there going on stage?
That's a good question for Antibalas. If we can have say 10 monitor mixes, of course we would take them. Usually it ends up being about six.
Yeah.
Usually about six. And if we can, we'll get up to 10, 11. Yeah.
What do you? I've only ever been a guitarist or a bassist, and almost without exception, all I want is a bunch of kick and snare and some lead vocal, my own vocal. As a
Right.
percussionist, does it vary from that? Are you looking for anything else? I've never even
I'm looking for presence. As a guy who is the instrument that I play in Antibalas is the shaker, and the shaker is a gourd. So yeah, I have one right here.
You played one in the Couchers video.
That's right. That's right. And you actually can't see it as well because I really didn't raise it up that much. But this is a shaker that has no net on it, and it's basically just the gourd. So my instrument, I don't play this with Antibalas. I'll record with this because I can get slap sounds and the tone sounds
What is it
out of it.
made out of?
The gourd is basically, for all intents and purposes, a piece of wood. It is a squash of sorts. It's a gourd that, as it matures, is cut and dries, it hardens. And that shape, when it hardens, is just as hard as any piece of wood that's the same thickness. It's fibrous inside, and it creates a great deal of strength all throughout it. And it keeps that strength.
That thing is giant.
Yeah, this one's really big.
I always thought that it was kind of like a drum, but now I'm looking at it, and I'm like a carved drum or like a laminated thing, and
well, they come in all sizes, man. They come in absolutely all sizes. I've got some this size. I've got these little ones that they call spinners.
Yeah.
And they're actually about that big, if I'm not mistaken. And I put them all together. I string them together, and I put beads on each one of those, and I just shake the whole thing. Yeah. So now I've been playing Shakere for, 15, 16, 17 years now. So now I'm making them, and I'm finding out all this stuff about
You're
what you
making them now.
can't do. Yeah, yeah,
Sell
yeah. I have not sold any yet, but I have a large batch that it's my first batch
them? That's
that I'm about to do. I make all mine, so I've made like 5 or 6, but I haven't made them for other people, and now it's time.
what kind of things affect the tonality of them? Or is it
Uh,
mostly like carving it, and is it mostly a vehicle for the net?
it is a vehicle for the net. Yeah, it's basically uh, uh, and I'll get back to your first question with this answer. Um, the thickness
Yeah.
of the shell of the shakere affects how the tone will be. There is a bass tone in the bottom of it. When I hit the very bottom here, that I can get, that is could be any number of pitches. But those are sustained notes. Like I said, the thickness, the dryness of it, how long it dried before you opened it, how much material is still inside,
If you
all
dry
that stuff.
those, do you dry those ambiently or do you dry them in a kiln or
I've
oven?
never dried it in anything other than just the air
Yeah.
outside. Yeah, on the ground, and that's what gives it the
Flat.
flatness. Um,
Right.
but that kind of goes to the tone. What I'm asking for when I am asking for a monitor mix, I want to hear some of that tone as well as the net.
Right.
So I have to not have as much of the rest of the band, and not think about it as a rock band. You know, um, I am very loud. The shaker is a really loud instrument. It's almost piercing because of well, depending on the materials you use. Like if I use plastic beads, that's tends to be a lot higher pitched.
Right.
If I use wood beads, it's a lot woodier, smokier, airier, but it can be louder. And depending on the wood, it can be
Right.
softer as well. But I want to hear that over and above the other instruments, but at the same time, I need to hear the other instruments. So there's not a whole lot of that I need to get through my monitor. But my vocal, lead singer vocal, bass, kick drum, maybe a little hi hat, um, and that's pretty much it. Because everything else we actually play at a pretty low stage volume because there's so many people on stage, and there's horns, and
Sound projecting. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And that actually works really well. We can kind of talk to each other um, when we're playing, and that's always great. Music is communication. And if you can actually communicate when you're on stage, it's even better.
Go figure.
it's
So I want to
funny.
loop back a little bit and then
Yeah.
forward in your timeline because I'm interested to know if drums were your first instrument
Mm. Yes.
and and when you started playing and what inspired you to pick up
Mm.
music.
That's a great question, man. The I have to be completely honest and say I don't know what just pushed me towards the drums. I remember being 5 or 6 and seeing um, those little circulars that come in the newspaper,
Yeah.
um, the full color, ads for like
Advertisement.
Toys R Us and
Yeah.
stores like that, and they would have these little kid drum sets in them, and
Right.
I would beg my parents, please get me one of these little kid drum sets, please. And they'd be like, that's paper. You don't. Well, I don't care. I don't care. I just, you're a kid. You don't see that this thing is going to break in a week.
Right.
And I would not stop. I'd never let up on asking them if they would do this. So by the time I was 12, and I'm going by like, 10, I'd say 10 years old. We had band at school.
Sure.
And right. And I wanted to play drums. And, and I had been pining.
Still hadn't talked your folks into getting you a kit.
Still had not got me a kit. Still had not got me, I'm beating on pans. I would stay at my grandmother's for the summer, and she lived on just acres and acres of land and, tractors and tractor tires. And I would pull buckets and tractor tires and like old just farm stuff and just find some sticks. And I'd beat on all this stuff and create, rhythmic, tonality at, 7 and 8. And by the time I was 10, musical band in school started, and I was just laser focused to the drums, to the snare, and there were already enough snare players. So I had to play trumpet. And I played trumpet. I was pretty good. I was, third chair, I think, for most of school.
Yeah.
And I did that until the 8th grade. And at that point, I already had a drum set, and but my very first kit.
You got a drum set by then?
No, at 12, my parents gave me a snare for Christmas, and I would go into. This is kind of embarrassing, actually. My dad built a room onto our house, and
it was like, right, the snare lives here.
The snare lives here. Yeah, the snare lives here. And I think I picked it more than he did, but he was like, you don't need to be around us doing this. so I've got the snare, and I was just infatuated with the sound that I could get out of the snare when I would pound on the floor and hit the snare. So pounding on the floor of this open wood floor would make the bass drum sound.
Right.
And I would hit the snare. And obviously the rim was my hi-hat. And I'm just learning songs. And I didn't know I was learning how to play. I had no idea. I'm just having fun. I'm doing this thing that I'm drawn to and having fun with it and realizing how to hold the stick and figuring out, how to, make my hands go faster and how to make it sound clean.
Is there any bit of that early experience of you, mocking a kit with just the snare that you've incorporated into your style? Like, are you?
Oh, that's a good question.
Do you have heavier rim work? Like, do you have stylistically? Are you?
That's a really good question. I've never thought about it. I would imagine that there are holdovers from that time. I definitely, for the last year or so, have been working on keeping the heel on my right foot down as I play the bass drum pedal. Right. Because I bring it up all the way, like I used to when I was pounding on the floor. And I actually have a really heavy foot. That definitely came from that.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't think I could put my right heel on the ground and
it's really difficult. It's really something that jazz players, super adept jazz players do.
I don't think I could even balance my body and do that. Like, I think the balance would be thrown off. But
you have to have strong shins.
Yeah. No doubt, because those things get worn out.
Yeah, totally. So, and I haven't perfected it by any stretch, but yeah. Closer.
To fill in the pieces, and you're like, what was the next piece?
The next piece was the next year when I turned 13. My parents were like, okay, if you mow lawns, you can buy your own drum set. And I found a drum set And oh no, I had not found the drum set yet. I went to my neighbor and I mowed his lawn for that summer.
Yeah.
And by the end of that summer, I had the $100 that it took to buy this very cheap drum set.
Because you were getting like $5 a shot, right?
Yeah. Oh, totally.
Yeah.
And it was, and I'm telling you, I was not thinking of, pushing this lawnmower. I'm thinking of the drum set. The drum set's coming. I'm closer to the drum set, and then a year after that, Hurricane Hugo came to North Carolina and destroyed our house. And the water damage destroyed the drum kit. I actually watched as the water poured through a light fixture that was over my drum set down onto the drum set and just like was playing my drums. So I was like watching it, and I'm watching it just like blow apart because it was so cheap. It was really sad.
No.
Yeah.
How
But
did you recover from that?
How did I recover from that? I'm not totally sure. I remember
Devastating. That makes me want to cry.
it was totally devastating. It was totally devastating. That was the first time I remember feeling, looking back, feeling depression. I was totally sad for these drums.
That was a massive part of your life.
Yeah, totally. And it was a major setback in my family's life because we ended up not living in that home for another 6 months, 8 months, while they were working on it. And then to get back in and not have a drum set was pretty crazy, because my life at that point was drums. When you're 14, 15, you're playing 8 hours a day. You're playing any chance you get, and you're not even thinking about calluses or whatever. You're just you
a good student?
I was an okay student. When the drums came, it slipped.
Yeah, same.
It definitely. Is the same for you?
Oh, you bet. Well, yeah, you just don't care about it. It's like, I'll read that chapter after I'm done with this thing that I wanted.
Yeah, I was like, I got my thing. Right. I'm set, man.
So through this period of time, what's keeping you excited about drums? What's the fuel? Like, what are you listening to? Are you listening to classics and playing the classics? Are you playing, like, I think you're about my age, right? I'm 50 this year.
Oh wow, you look much younger than 50. Like, honestly, I'm 46. I'm 46.
Okay, so
yeah,
it's like 1990.
Yeah.
Right?
And 1990, I've got no drums, but I've got, like, I'm going to music stores like every weekend. I'm getting rides from my parents to go to music stores and look at stuff.
Right.
I am looking in catalogs. There was no internet, to speak of, but I'm like,
what music is keeping you excited? Are you exposed to punk rock? Are you into classics? Are you into rock music?
I am exposed to classics, classic rock mostly.
Was your dad a classic rock guy?
Say what?
Was your dad a classic rock guy?
No, not at all. My dad was, well, that's not true. My dad was a pretty everything guy, but his record collection, which at the time I thought was the most uncool thing ever. Like, why would I pull out a record and put it on a record player and hear all that hiss? There's CDs. So I got tapes. Yeah, so I'd never listened to his stuff. And he had both my parents. My mom actually worked at a radio station for years. Oh, wow. And so she got oh man, it was incredible. And I actually have that collection now. I own that collection. It's all like, I have so many promotional copies of like everything that was like hitting from 1972 to 1978. And I mean, that's my era. That's my era. So that was on the radio too. So I didn't have to listen to the records. I was still drawing from that in the classic rock and the classic R&B stations on the radio. So it was like total radio kid. And so, the in Southern rock, Little Feat, Allman Brothers, uh, uh, Molly Hatchet, I guess, 38 Special, like the stuff like that was like playing nonstop.
Yeah.
Led Zeppelin,
Yeah.
The band. That was what I got just drilled into my head. And then I think around the time I was 15 or 16, I started developing my own taste. I started seeking out things that were more interesting. And it really is true when they talk about representation in media. Um, in those rock uh, uh, corridors and those spaces, I wasn't seeing myself,
Right.
And except for the Doobie Brothers or the Allman Brothers, bands like that had a black member that were doing really cool stuff, but that was few and far between. And I'll never forget when a friend of mine gave me this red cassette. I think it was red, and it said Bad Brains.
Oh, fuck.
And I was like, Bad Brains? What's this? So apparently at the time, they put out I think it was either Band in DC or one of their albums. They put it out in colored tape and colored plastic tape, and so it was yellow, red, and green. I think are the three colors you could get. But my friend Hannes Charin was like, Marcus, you gotta listen to this, dude. You gotta listen to this. You're gonna love it. Like, they're all black, dude. And I'm like, okay, all right. I get it home. And it was, I mean, from the time I pressed play and heard the first, I was hooked. I was completely hooked. And I was like, I can't believe this. I can't, it was incredible. That same year, I got the Tama Swing Star. I was 16. And I'd been playing drums all day before that, but I went on like latchkey kid. I get home, immediately throw the keys and the books down and sit behind the kit and don't stop playing until my parents get home, and it was like, and I was playing to everything, and I didn't have like the headphone situation. So I was making up, I was either making up stuff or just the songs that I had memorized and listened to, I'm playing to those in my head. And that's how I developed, playing.
No headphones, no stereo.
No headphones for the first several years. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I would listen to something and then sit down at the kit and play it, or try to play it,
How do you think that affected your style? Because that's really a very unconventional approach to almost everyone I've ever talked to.
Yeah, because most people
stereo or the headphones, and
Yeah, I mean, look, I would have rather had but I didn't have headphones that were long enough. Like, all the things that happened because of like actual like bullshit logistics. Like, it was like, say, I didn't have a cord that was long enough to get to the stereo. So I would listen to it, at normal volume, and and play like the first part. I'd listen to the first part, play the first part. I go back over to the stereo. I play the second part, sit down, try to play the second part. And it was, when people say they learned playing guitar from records, they would put their finger on it to slow it down and stuff like that. I didn't really have that same type of thing. So you just improvise, you do your own thing,
you record yourself at all back then?
I didn't. And that's one thing that I regret, because I do like to record myself now. And there's still a sense sometimes that, I'm like, who's that guy? And I'm like, motherfucker, that was you. You're like, how are you disconnecting with yourself here?
Right.
Um, and so and I know that comes you know, um, from it being a different situation. So my compensating for the things I didn't know haven't totally screwed me up, but not being a classically trained person, um, there's still that sense of, am I doing it right? And some people take that and run with it and don't care. I think like a drummer like Stephen Perkins, or um, the drummer for Faith No More, or
Right.
cats that like just turn the whole thing. Like, I'm gonna set the drums up this way.
Right.
Well, that's not how it usually. Well, that's fine. I want to do it like this.
Right.
Or somebody that turns the strings upside down. And Steve Miller that plays a left-handed guitar right-handed. So that he can do the Jimmy whammy bar stuff.
Huh.
Yeah, you just you improvise. You
Right.
you figure it out. I think Homer Steinweiss showed me. He is another drummer on our label Daptone Records, and he had a car accident. I think maybe I know that he has an injury that made it so that the tendons on his foot didn't pick his foot up like they used to.
Right.
And so he had to change everything about his playing.
Did he switch
He
to the
actually
foot?
he switched. Yeah, he plays the
Yeah.
right hand. He plays hi hat. He's right-handed and usually does the cross.
He's goofy foot.
But now, yeah, he's got the bass drum on his left foot, hi hat on his right side, and the snare is right here in the center. And he plays like that now. And you look at his kit and you're like, what is going, that's not, but it works. It is for him.
Right.
You make your own way. And sometimes when you're making your own way, when you're innovating, it's a thing that that lasts forever. It's something that innovates in other people's heads as well.
That's crazy.
And I hope I can leave something for other people's heads. We'll see.
Everyone has the opportunity. Everyone.
Yeah.
You know, it's a matter of shit. What the fuck do I know? I don't know. What the fuck.
Yeah, exactly. It's a matter of what the fuck do I know? I love that.
So you have you get another kit after the hurricane,
Yeah.
and you're playing, you're doing this across the room thing with the stereo. At what point do your friends know you drum? Like, surely you're like, hey, you guys.
My friends do. At 13, when I had the other kit, I joined a band with some kids that I was going to school with. I'm embarrassed to tell you the name of that group. It was called the Freds.
The Freds.
The Freds.
That's way better than my first band.
That was better?
Oh yeah.
Oh my God, what was the name of your first band?
The Finkelstein Shit Band. Song reference.
I don't know. That's pretty good, man.
Cheech and Chong reference, yeah.
Oh, wait, I don't know that Cheech and Chong reference.
You get a job by sundown, or I'm shipping you off to military school like that goddamn Finkelstein shit kid.
I love that. I love that.
Well,
One of the only things I brought from Cheech and Chong was, hey man, don't let it grab you by the poo poo.
Yeah. There's so many good things. So many nuggets. I didn't know your name was Alex, man.
That was good stuff. and I don't think it stands up to
No.
today's standards.
No, I still watch it once a year, maybe every couple years. I'll try
Oh,
to
that's
watch
good.
one.
Yeah, I got to pull it out, man. It was definitely like the thing that all the kids were talking about at school.
Of the
Yeah, but I'm sorry. What were we? I just
what were
totally.
you guys doing? Were you guys
Oh,
writing songs? Were you guys doing
we were
covers?
not writing songs. We were trying to play the discography of the great REM.
Oh, amazing.
That was that was poorly.
Right.
But yeah, no, that was what we did, and we played some Cream songs. We had a couple of Creams covers under the belt. What else did we do? I think it was just mostly REM and a little bit of Cream. I might have played some Misty Mountain Hop or try to. But yeah, definitely rock band through and through. And it was fun. I remember our dads, because we practiced at my house, and I remember our dads hanging out, and just be like, yeah, this is cool, right? Yeah, and they were having their own,
Right.
it was really cool. But we had like maybe two or three gigs, community center, type stuff.
And so you at this time you're how old?
Oh, I was 13. I was 13. Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah. And it was that funny thing too, where I knew that I wanted to play the drums. Like my mom took me to ukulele lessons. And I did the lessons. I thought it was so cool, but I just didn't stick to it like I did to the drums. It was almost like it was OCD. I needed to do this. I needed that. And I would just run right back to that. So yeah, the having that, having those other guys to bounce that stuff off of, and not even knowing what I wanted to play. They could have said anything, play, whatever, and I'd have been like, yeah. So that was my outlet. That was my first taste, I think. And then obviously the first time we played our little community center in front of parents and stuff like that, I was like, oh, lights, people watching, this is it,
Were you nervous or were you excited to show what you could do, or both?
I was definitely nervous, but I was excited to show what I could do. I remember being excited to show what I could do, because I sat down after years of wanting to do this. I sat down in the kit and I played, and nothing else in my life had ever gone like that.
To bring it all the way back around to what we were talking about before, it's the first time you have a monitor mix, and I never had a monitor mix before my first show. I was
Well,
like,
I didn't have a monitor mix my first show. No, 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 no. The community center was all out of monitors.
right,
Uh,
sold out.
yeah, I was probably about 16 and in my second band before monitors came into the picture. And we're talking about punk rock clubs here, so the monitors are just gurgling beer. That's they're.
It's a completely different experience to have everyone facing one direction, not each
Yeah,
other, than it is in the practice room. And so there are a lot of unknown variables in those early shows where
yeah,
you're learning a lot. And you're not only learning how to perform, but you're learning how to practice and how to listen in practice so that you can hear cues differently if you're in it. Because let's face it, practice rooms almost never sound good either.
oh
But they
yeah,
sound better
never.
in different ways, right?
Yeah, I mean, that it's the communicating we're talking about too. When you're young, you're not able to communicate well, right? So
The seven
you're
words.
yeah, and and even less chords, so you're,
7 words
so
and
you're
the truth.
yeah, exactly, right. So it's just like back and forth, like butting heads, but you think you're doing it. And if your friends are out there watching you, they also have the same mentality, so they're not like, I think that second song, you need to tighten up on, no, they're just like, oh, I'm so happy to be here. And so it's the experience, and it's that, just having that whole thing like, oh, people are watching.
Right.
And, it, and so, yeah, the music makes me happy when I'm in my house doing it. But, oh, wow, it makes other people happy too. It, they're getting really excited about it. Okay. Oh, wow. So it's not just me. We can interact. And then I think I was actively listening,
Right.
um, because the better that natural instruction, uh, it shows you the intuition. It shows you when you are listening to your other players, to your bandmates. If you're listening to them well and interacting with them well and being tight together, the crowd reacts better. They like it more. They yell louder. Oh, I like that. Let me have more of that. So then
Oh my
when you're
God.
at home, you're like, okay, let me make sure I'm, doing this stroke right. Let me get this, the stamina of my wrist to the proper place so that, I'm not, lacking when I get in front of these people. So I don't embarrass myself because they want to see me do well. And that was a light turning on too. These people want to see me do well on stage. Let me give them the best, show that I can give them. Let me give them the best me that I can give
How long did the Freds keep playing, and how many bands were there before you were like you landed in a band where you thought, you know, you were firing on all cylinders, you
them.
were killing it, the band was great, you were doing good gigs. And were you playing in a bunch of bands at once before you went to New York?
Um, the Freds lasted for probably less than a year, sadly,
Right.
sadly.
That's okay when
Um,
you're a kid. It felt like 5
yeah,
years.
yeah, totally. And I was, there was no sadness. It was, just one day it just wasn't there, and I forgot to look back and be like, what happened? Um, but uh, I would say, um, I've never fully felt like, damn, I'm killing it.
Right.
I'm awesome right now. I'm so good, you know. Um, outside of my rehearsal space.
With
I've
those
said that
drummers.
many times in this, like, do they not know? And it's like somebody next door, like, no, and shut up, you but yeah, no, it's yeah, there's always higher that I can go, and um, and I think I'm still trying to achieve that. I'm definitely the not as attractive friend when it comes to my skill at this point, because Shaker um, which I love, and I think has made me a better drummer. Um, touring, the world with Antibalas has, made it so that I'm not working on my hands. I'm working on my wrists every day, So my playing, I think, even though my timing gets better and I'm better at communicating with a large band, my skills on the drums, and obviously for the past year, this is not necessarily true because I've been playing, a lot. But usually when I'm gone as much as I am, I'm not working on my drum skills. So I feel like that lacks. And that's why I feel like I'm not like totally firing on all cylinders,
Right.
to the point where a lot of people that I play with don't know that I'm a drummer first. They think that I'm a percussionist and a singer first, and a singer songwriter. Um, and I want all those things to work together, but it can be difficult, somewhat difficult, and that is why I play with many different groups, because I do need to scratch that itch,
Sure.
um, but I also need to scratch the singer itch, and I also need to scratch the percussionist itch. And but at the same time, my dad used to say to me, he's like, son, I think because he could weld, he was a woodworker. He was in corporate America, selling and doing long range planning for AT&T and Southern Bell. But he would always say to me, son, I feel like I'm a jack of all trades, but I'm a master of none. And so I just remember hearing that all the time, and I find myself in the same position. I can play a lot of things pretty well, but there's nothing that people will say, oh, he's this.
Right.
And I wonder sometimes, should I make that more, should I make one thing more important? Should I focus, all of my energies in this one direction? Yeah.
Let me ask you this. Had you ever heard of a shakeré before you joined Antibalas?
No.
You
I
know,
had never.
it's an
No.
instrument that most rock musicians don't even know how to pronounce.
That's right. That's right. And they don't.
Right.
Like, I've heard every pronunciation imaginable, and some unimaginable.
Sure.
But it also goes to there are several different spellings of the word, because it is an instrument that comes originally from Africa. It migrated with maybe not with the slave trade, but it migrated into all the other continents, and has a cultural significance in a lot of them.
Right.
So in South America, they call it the chekere, and I've heard in some places they spell it with an X, and it's the sekere. In Africa, it's mostly the shekere, and just it's and almost all cultures have their version of it, and it's really interesting. I'm it, like I said, when I first started playing it, I didn't know anything about it. I was just, I heard it. I maybe not drawn to it like the drums, but I kind of thought in the situation that I might get to play the drums if I just
Sure.
take this job doing this, and I can like slide into that later. And then just fell in love with it.
So,
And
so paint
yeah,
a picture for me. How does this opportunity come up? Because you're playing drums in a handful of rock bands. I'm imagining like
yeah,
any good drummer in New York is in 20 bands and picking up gigs
right.
in there.
Yeah. I was playing in a lot of uh, hip hop open mics. I would show up with my sticks and wait until the drummer was tired, and I would jump up and play my 3 hip hop beats and get yelled at by terrible MCs. Yo, play this, I was like, faster, slower, you know. And 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 then, yeah, and just developed that thing, and got seen and was seen, and the community started to form, and then I got a job bartending in this place called Black Betty that I was talking about earlier, and it was respectfully, it was, I know it wasn't a dive. It was not a dive.
Where was it?
It was in Williamsburg. It was at the corner of Havemeyer and Metropolitan.
Huh.
And that corner
In those
was,
days, it was crazy.
yeah,
A lot of things were happening in the bars late at night.
yes.
It was a
It
whole.
was Dodge City. It was Dodge City. I saw everything. I
I
saw
bet you did.
everything. Oh yeah, man. And I'm 26, 27, And all these people, you know, when a place becomes cool, it's very dark and has a dangerousness about it. You know, people want to be there. They want to come there. They want to be in danger. You know, strangely enough,
Who doesn't want to live on the edge? That's what
who doesn't want to live on
is.
the edge? It's like, I'm going to Black Betty tonight. I might get stabbed. What? Let's go. It's, uh, it was that spot, and it was, you know, an oasis in an area that didn't really have a whole lot going on. And as the bartenders in this place, we kind of felt like we ran that whole area. Everybody knew who we were, and it was, you know, ego builder or whatever. But the really important thing, especially for me, was not so much all of that stuff, because that stuff was great. But the really important thing for me was that it had this little tiny venue. It was a little tiny stage, and it was a venue. And basically, small bands would come there. Bands that are now huge would play there for
Like
3 or 4 people, like Sharon Jones. That was the first time I ever saw Sharon Jones. And I was, I'd stopped serving. I stopped serving people.
right.
I was so into, I mean, nobody was asking me for anything. I mean, what am I talking about? She was, I'd never seen anything like that. She was this tiny woman that literally put on James Brown's show, you know, right in front of me, and did not like, and I was tired, like I was emotionally drained after her show, and I just remember her signing my my flyer for the show, and that was 2001 or 2,
Right.
before the Dap Kings were anything, you know. I didn't know anything about Daptone Records. I didn't know, you know, who Gabe was. I didn't know who Neil Sugarman was. I didn't, you know, anything about that. And, but I knew that she was incredible, and she was talking to those people. And then I saw uh, the Foo Orchestra. And the Foo Orchestra was, or is, it's the side project of the singer of Antibalas, Amayo. And that was the first time that I'd ever seen Afrobeat performed live. Because when I moved here, my roommate took me to some bar in the East Village. And we're standing in the bar. This is another bar. We're standing in the bar, and the DJ is above us. It's daytime, and he's playing some music, and I'm standing there waiting for a drink, and I'm like, and I catch myself like moving. I'm dancing. I'm grooving, you know, to what this guy's playing. I've never heard it before. It turns out it's Fela Kuti.
Yeah.
And I walk over. Oh no, the bouncer comes over to me and taps me on the shoulder. And I look at the bouncer.
When the sun's up.
Again, when the sun's up, and I'm like full on like dancing, you know. And he's like taps me on the shoulder, and he points over my shoulder, and I look over and I see this sign that says "No dancing."
Really?
And I'm new to the city. Like, what? How you can't dance? This ain't Footloose. And I go over to the DJ, and I was like, "What is this?" And he looks down at me like, "You idiot! This is Fela." You know, and I was like, "Oh, okay."
Oh, right, of course.
My life was changed. My life was changed from that moment. And so when I heard the Foo Orchestra at Black Betty years later, immediately took me back to that place. I hear this stuff. I'm like, yes, this is what I've been trying to get back to. This is the thing that never left me. I'm energized. I'm like, I can't believe this music. I've never heard this before. What it, you know, and they're playing it in front of me, and I could reach out and talk to them after the show. Oh my God. And I did. And that was the night I met Stuart Bokey. Stuart Bogey is one of my shout to Stuart Bogey, man. He's one of my dearest friends. One of the smartest cats I know. He's a sax player and clarinetist, and it's sick on the flute. He was a sax player in Antibalas at the time. And if I'm not mistaken, he was playing that Foo show as well. And I went up to him and I was like, "What? How do I be down?" And he was like, "Wow, this is what we do, man. This is Afrobeat, man." And I'm like, I like, how do I have to be, this, please tell me more. Oh, well, get this record and get this record and get this record and Fela, and you could probably get this record too. And have you ever heard of King Sunny Ade? And I'm like, oh, okay, I've heard these names, but da da da. And I start putting things together. And so over the course of the next couple of years, I'm like delving into, Fela and all these other things, and this is like,
Is he, pardon my ignorant question. Fela is Ethiopian?
Nigerian.
He's Nigerian.
Yeah, he was born, I believe, in the 30s or 40s, and came about in the 60s when he was ready to go to university. His parents, who were noble people, they had some money and were respected in their town, said to him, "You're going to go to school in London, in a medical school." And he's like, "Yes, of course." His brother had already gone, and he went to London and heard Miles Davis for the first time.
Right.
And medical school just flew out the window, and he had already been playing a little bit of trumpet, and so he just started going to clubs and checking out everybody, and got turned on to James Brown. And by the time
Can
he
you
came,
imagine if he never heard Miles Davis?
oh my God,
Can you imagine if there was never a Fela?
no.
Dr. Kuti?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it would be a different game today.
Oh my God, completely. And this is the thing I'm talking about. Those incidental choice interactions that change not just that one person's life, not just the people that he knows lives, but the world. Like, he developed a genre of music that didn't exist before. He said, "What would happen if?" And then he did it. A lot of people say they're going to do something.
Sure.
But do they do it?
A lot of people.
And that's what Fela did. That's what Prince did. That's, we're so much greater and richer, for his, eccentricities. And not taking no for an answer, that was pretty wild. Like, getting to know that music with no reason. Like, there was nothing in it for me to learn this music, to find out about this guy. It just enriched me in this way that I needed to keep doing. And like I said, years later,
coming and playing at a place where you're working, and so, like, you're sort of enveloped in it, like, you're inspired.
I'm totally inspired. It's yes, it's not just happenstance. This is happening for a reason, right? Yeah, and I definitely felt that the fortuitousness, and then like I said, my friend Stuart, who was a regular at that bar, a couple of years down the road, was like, "Hey man, we actually could use somebody to tour on some of our records. You said you play drums, right?" "Yes, yes I do. Can you sing a little bit?" Yes, I can. Okay, we're gonna have a rehearsal, da 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 da," and that was it. I had a rehearsal with these guys. We, gelled immediately, I think. And I was just like, I mean, eyes like lanterns,
You were
like
like, "Are you
those.
kidding me? I have a collection of Shakiras."
And they were like, okay, we're gonna have to talk about the pronunciation. But it was I remember being like, okay, I'll do 3 or 4 shows and then I'll bail. And we did the first show, and I was like, I feel like I'm an audience member. I
Right.
feel like I'm getting a show. I'm part of the show, but I feel like I'm getting a show. I'm because there's number one, there's so many people on stage. I've got so many people to watch, and I'm listening at the same time. And hold up, damn, I am the rhythm count. I'm important. And so all those things, continued in my head, and then there were, bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger tours, and I don't want to get too ahead of us, but
What was the biggest learning curve when you
oh
out from behind the kit and you're, first of all, you're standing,
yes,
you've got a microphone, you're fully exposed,
yes,
you're playing an instrument that you've not played for years. You're playing an instrument that you've played for weeks.
yes, yes.
And that is,
Um,
people can hear it prominently.
yes, and that was yeah, that was very um, uh, real. Um, but for
Were you stressed
me,
out?
did I shut down?
Were you
No.
stressed out?
Oh yes, yes, yes. I was very stressed out um, because when okay, uh, Stuart was like, okay, so you're going to come to this rehearsal. I go to the rehearsal. They have a shaker rate for me because I barely know what the thing is. And they were like, okay, you're going to talk to this guy. And I go talk to this guy. And I'm so sorry that I can't remember his last name, but his first name is Yusuke, and we call him Tony. And he is the drummer in uh, Underground System Afrobeat. Shout to y'all, what's up? But he showed me how to play the shaker, and he couldn't tour with them, so they weren't using him. But he was generous enough to have me over to his house. He used to live in a place called BPM, if anybody out there remembers that. Um, but I went to his house, and he was like, "Okay, you're gonna do it like this," and he showed me, and I was like, "I don't know what the hell I'm doing," and
Because
and
he
I was terrified.
show you how to hold it.
He showed me how to hold it. He showed me how to drop it. He showed me how to send it back, and basically that was all you need to know.
Right.
And I was so terrified that I didn't know that that's all you need to know.
Right.
I have a tense. I have I tend to overthink some things, and I definitely overthought the shaker rate. But I think it took another week or so, and I was like, I think I'm gonna be okay at this. I think this is gonna be. I think this is gonna work. Um, Obviously, I continued playing drums and everything, uh, but I saw it at that point, really like a month or so into it. I saw this being something that I could continue doing for a while, hopefully.
How many how many bands have you encountered that have a Shaker
Oh
band?
well, um,
And there are
now,
people who have like just mad style, just like
yes,
crazy style.
yeah,
Like it's the Jimi Hendrix of someone fucking catches their Shaker on fire and it's just like boom, fuck you.
that's me. No, I'm just kidding. No, that's not me.
Do it.
there's a, there's there was well, no, he's still alive. And I met his ex-wife in California a few years ago. The percussionist that used to play with Herbie Hancock. Um, I would imagine that he is the closest thing to Jimmy on the Shaker Ray. He's phenomenal. You can find the clip on YouTube of him doing a Shaker Ray solo with Herbie. I think it's Montreux Jazz. I'm not sure, but he just does this really beautiful thing. It's not complicated. He just takes the groove from a really slow pace, speeds it up, mesmerizes the audience, and then brings it back down to this really slow pace. But it's and it's a really simple move, but he gets it going so fast that you can't see his hands, and you're just mesmerized. He would be the person that I would suggest. I can't think of his name right now, but he's a really amazing cat on Shaker Ray. Then there's another Shaker Ray player. Her name is Lolise Imbui, and she plays in Underground System, or she used to play in Underground System. I believe she's a solo artist now. She's a great Shaker Ray player. And then, of course, last but not least, the Shaker Ray player that was Fela's Shaker Ray player is now Sheun Kuti's Shaker Ray player. Sheun is the youngest son of Fela, and he tours all over the world, and his brother tours all over the world as well. His brother Femi, who we're really good friends with as musicians. Whenever we see each other, we have a good time hanging out.
How do you ever look back at 15-year-old you playing along to fucking Bob Seger records or whatever you were doing and just think music is amazing? What would my life be without music?
Oh man, yeah, I do. I remember at 15 saying, well, I remember at 14 telling my mother, walking into the kitchen and saying, Mom, I'm going to do this for my job. And I remember, for some stupid reason, I don't know why I told her this, but
after that,
yeah, well, not grounded yet. But when I told her that I would live in rat and roach infested apartments if it meant that I could play, that's what almost got me grounded. But she knew at that point that I was more serious with that than I was with anything else. She was a vocal major. My mom was going to be an opera singer until she got to college and saw the people that were more talented than her, that were struggling even harder than she was. That was an eye-opener for her. That same thing has been an eye-opener for me, but has not stopped me.
one of the most difficult things to balance out in my mind is how many talented people I know, right? Because
Yeah.
I know hundreds, maybe thousands. Fuck, what do I know? Maybe thousands of people who are way more talented than I have, than I
Yes.
am, that I'll ever be. They're younger, fitter, more handsome, easier to be around, and can play circles around me. But for whatever reason, they may not ever get an opportunity to be seen. I don't know
Right.
what that is, man.
That's unfairness. That's No, it's not unfairness. That is
Well, I mean,
that's the universe. That's timing. That's look. I shouldn't be. We were nominated for a Grammy this year.
which is
That's
insane, right?
that's insane.
Did you
That's
get a thing?
insane.
Did you get a thing to put on your wall?
No,
What?
I no, no, no. I mean, we're just nominated. Do you get a thing if you're just nominated?
I don't know.
I
That you
don't
get
know.
you know what? I mean, you get a thing for being on Couch Riffs,
I know.
If,
Where's my
as
thing?
far as
I
I'm
got my thing.
concerned,
I got a thing for being on couch riffs,
I
man.
know, man. I'm the
I was more proud of that than, dude. Yeah, that was great, man.
Here's the
What a
thing.
what a nice
If I'm
touch.
the guy at the Grammys, everyone gets a thing.
Yeah,
You,
yeah.
I, you know, sending out the things gives me a lot of joy.
Hell yeah,
I'm always trying to think of more new and more and better and funnier things to put in the box
yeah.
thing.
I appreciate that. I think it. I don't know if this is true about you, but I when I give, it is, yes, it's a nice thing to give and not receive, but I'm still receiving.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I'm still getting something. And it's great that I can give to get, but that feeling that I get of like, oh man, I'm so glad I did that. That's a rejuvenating thing. That's a beautiful thing. And that can't be discounted. So you're right, man. Keep giving me things.
Every time I slap a label on one of those boxes, I laugh out loud. I laugh out loud, man. It's fun.
Yeah.
I can't. So, did you have any idea that you guys might be nominated?
No. As far as I know, it was the our manager just submitted us for consideration because when you're when you're releasing your record,
Right.
if you want it to be considered, you have to put it out. You have to release it at a certain time of year.
Right.
And the time of year that we ended up releasing it was one of the I think 2 or 3 times that you can release a record during the year that and I don't think we necessarily knew that it was being considered. We just wanted to put it out at that time that coincided, and they heard it and they put it on the list. And yeah.
And then the whole thing was virtual this year. Yeah,
Yeah, it was very interesting. We are a band that has been around for almost 20 years now.
right.
And we have always been, um, you know, not basic. I don't want to say basic, but not bare bones either. But we kind of like, with so many members, we kind of like, we keep things tight, and we don't dream too lofty, as far as mainstream success, because we're playing music that is not necessarily mainstream, you know.
But also, I mean, as far as bands go, what is the what is the biggest successful band? Like as far as members go, like what would that be? Like,
As far as like members, for like separately, or
just
like for side projects, or just the
like how when you said when you're on stage there are 10 people,
there are 10 to 11 other people. Yeah.
so like 11 or 12
Yeah,
people on stage.
yeah.
You know, you have a tour of in Europe. That's 12 tickets. That's a big bus.
Yeah.
That's no junk bunk.
No junk one.
That's
No
no
junk
junk
one.
bunk. Like for people,
That's usually dudes in the lounge, on the couch and lounge. Yeah.
right? And no techs because there's no bunk for you,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
That's
So
and but
yes.
also like flights and on days off,
Yeah.
it's like okay, what do we do? What's going
Yeah.
on here?
Yeah. It's you uh improvise, and we a long time ago we started taking a rice cooker on the road with us,
That's cool.
like communal things like that, a rice cooker, one of those massage crooks,
Right.
and those communal things that many people can enjoy themselves with and be over here in a small group here, and it's a village.
Right.
And yeah, it does logistically make things tough. We're playing really, you know, modestly, we're playing pretty nice shows. Playing to, more than 2 to 3 thousand people sometimes, and um, but we still have a budget of whatever. Like when we see our money at the end
Shit.
of the day, it's
Yeah.
yeah, you know what I'm saying. So,
Production is
and
more
we're still
expensive than
sharing
shipping.
rooms,
Yeah.
and in hotels when we do stay in hotels and stuff. But we're not seeing the success that the bands that are in our same orbit, see, because they're just four guys,
Right.
or three guys.
Let me ask you this. I've always had this like for not always, for over 20 years. I've had this fantasy of having a band that was like a cross between the Jesus Lizard and
Oh,
Funkadelic, where it was just like it was heavy and kind of linear, but also funky, but
mm,
big. Like I want to have,
mhm.
like two percussionists and like almost like fucking Rare Earth, but like heavy,
Yeah,
like that.
love Rare Earth, man.
And
Yeah, yes.
but
When you do that, call me.
but I know, I'm hearing everything you're saying right
Oh
now.
yeah.
I'm like, fuck, man, this is a cautionary tale right here. Like, what you want to have a three-peat? You want to be Green Day?
Yeah, you want to
You
be
know,
a DJ right now.
you want to be a DJ that works off of an iPad.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it is the sheer love of music, and also it's the yeah, it's the sheer love of music, also the fact that there aren't many of us doing this. So I've met almost all my heroes, you know
Right.
um and to be able to say, after 15, 16 years, that we Antibalas is the vanguard of Afrobeat in the United States. That's a tremendous thing to be able to say. It's actually true. I'm sure that there were some groups playing African music or Afrobeat before we did, but in '97, this band was formed and it started doing it, and there was no one else. And when I, looked online in 2003 and four and five and six, I didn't see anything about a Shakere or gourd instruments on YouTube or almost anywhere else. Now, when we pull into a town and we get off the bus, I see a couple kids walking up with their own little shaker eggs,
Are they like,
for the show and coming into the
sure,
show. It's
sure,
yeah, it's
my shit
wild,
right.
man. And like all these Afrobeat, like every town that we go to, we can always see it because like 7 or 8 people will walk up to the stage and they're either dressed similarly or they're just like talking together and they're super tight and they're like pointing at different people in the band, and that's this town's Afrobeat band,
Right.
and they come to our shows. And so it's yeah, that's a pretty cool thing to have happen, to see happen, to be perhaps a part of happening. um,
What?
and that is great for me. That it's like it is the icing on the cake. So the hotel situation or the maybe low performance payout, whatever, that stuff doesn't matter.
Surely you've had over the years, probably when you first joined the band more than lately, but what have been some of the most um when I say humbling, I mean inspiring, but also like what are some of the moments when you have felt like holy shit, like you're a part of this great thing, but you've seen some legends perform and you're like, wow. Because I imagine that you guys go and you've played a lot of festivals. You've met
A lot of
a lot
festivals.
of your heroes.
Yeah.
Um, can you tell me some of the moments when you've been like, wow, when you've been
Yes.
completely blown away?
We and luckily, and I want to frame this right, luckily we have been doing this for long enough that most of the things that we do are situations where we're all geeked, like, oh my God. I think it was about 4 years ago now. We did a performance with Nile Rodgers. We opened up for Chic in Paris, France.
Wow.
And it was everything. It was everything that you could ever imagine. He liked us, I think. And so you like, if you're opening
You
for
never know.
somebody, you might not ever see that person until they're on stage. And then after they're off stage, you still don't see him. He hung out with us. We like chilled, and he talked to us, and he showed us his guitar, and he told us about this place and how he made this song and what he did in this thing to get this tone. Like, he was answering those questions, and we were in his ass about it.
He seems
So
like
gracious.
incredible. I saw him at the Roots picnic, but for a few years leading up to that, I was paying attention,
Mm,
because
mm,
I was paying attention and watching videos of him play it because I was learning
mm.
some of his songs, and he's a badass.
He's
Uh,
a monster, dude.
and anytime he, outside of watching him perform, anytime you hear him speak or talk about his experience in music or in life, it is fucking inspiring.
So inspiring. And just imagine being right, like he's right there saying this stuff to you.
You're
Like,
eating,
yeah.
you're eating the same carrot sticks, man.
it was tremendous. It was tremendous. I have a picture of him holding my shaker.
That's killer.
It was tremendous, man.
Use
He
that for
was.
the eBay ad.
Yeah, exactly. Touched by, yeah. He was just so cool, man. And I'll say another thing too. I mean, obviously, this, and I'm sure everybody watching and listening knows this, but um, it is a, it is. I'll never get to experience something like that again. Um, when you are watching, when you are side stage, and you are watching someone whose records you heard every day,
Yeah, man.
okay, um, who in every stage of your life, there is an era of his
Yep.
work, of his craftsmanship. Madonna, you know what I'm saying? Uh, yeah, you know, uh, Bowie. That he was the it guy, and he had his head on straight, and he kept his head down and plowed through. But just imagine watching a 2-hour show where every song
Hit.
every song was, oh, I mean, you're maybe each song wasn't a number one hit, but every song he played that night was in a top 10
Yeah.
or top 20 place on Billboard, man. And, everybody in the place is singing the music. And I mean, just tremendous. His backup singers were just, I mean, top notch. His horn section was just murderers. It was so dope. And that's just one of those instances. We get to do a lot of things like that, and to walk up to my heroes, to walk up to De La Soul, I'm a name drop, and be like, I can't, but I'm thank you, you know, and then be like, oh, yo, it's cool. So you guys playing? Yeah, we're playing. I'm in this band called Antibalas. Oh, I know them. What? Like what? You know, to be able to talk to your heroes and them know about your like, I mean, blows my mind. It blows my mind. It blows my mind. And I'm, you know, in that situation more than I should be. Like really. And
No, 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 no. I used to think that too, but you're in the situations that you're supposed to be in, you know? You
I
belong
guess
there.
so, man. I
Otherwise,
guess so.
you'd be gone.
Yeah. 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 Um, yeah. Yeah. Um, I'm yeah, I'm supposed to be where I am. I'm in the body that I'm in. I was, you know, and I remember thinking that at 21, and just, you know, just my first professional gig ever. I got a call from this woman that knew these other guys that, I mean, I'd been, you know, playing in bands and touring for a little bit, but I'm 21, and it's I guess it's 94, around 94. And this woman that knew some of the guys that I was in another band with was at my house at a party. And she, you know, she's a good 20 years older than everybody else, but she was cool, you know. And she's like, Marcus, I got some friends that need a drummer. And I was like, okay. I'm thinking it's like somebody down the street. And she's like, you might have to move though. And I'm like, ooh, what are you talking about? It turned out it was a band called Bloodline. And Bloodline was based out of Syracuse, New York.
Mhm.
And it was the vehicle for a child prodigy named Joey Bonamassa.
What?
And oh, you know Joey Bonamassa? Yeah, yeah. He was Joey Bonamassa then. Um,
Okay.
and yeah, he was 18 or 19 at the time. Um, and I didn't know that it was his vehicle, but I knew that it was on EMI. And it was called Bloodline because the rest of the band members were children of famous musicians. I was taking the place of Aaron Davis, who is Miles Davis's son, on drums. The bass player was a kid named Barry Oakley Jr., who was the son of, yeah, Barry Oakley Jr. from the Allman Brothers.
Right.
The Allman Brothers that died on the motorcycle in '74, I think. This cat had never, as far as I know, I think he had never met his dad, which is really, really heavy.
Right.
I think it was like a really small baby. And Waylon Krieger on rhythm. Yes,
Oh,
dude, it was crazy. And it lasted, and I got the gig. I rode on a train up to Syracuse, New York from North Carolina. And it was an incredible experience, man. Incredible experience. And the band lasted for another month and disbanded.
right.
But that was when I knew. That was when I was like, okay, this is a professional. I can work. You know.
How old
Uh,
were you then?
I was 21. Yeah, I was
21.
21.
That's what you said.
And Carol Shubkin. I still talk to her to this day, man.
Amazing.
Yeah.
You know, Bonamassa, I think he catches a lot of crap because when you're on top, that's what you do,
Yeah.
you
Of
know.
course. Of
And
course.
he's killing.
He's killing, man. And he's singularly focused in a way that, well, at 21, it was weird. You know, I thought I was singularly focused.
Right.
I was not singularly focused like he was.
I know
And
a lot of folks that know him and
yeah,
absolutely love him. Like
yeah,
no one that knows him ever says
right.
a bad thing about him, and that is a good indicator.
Yes, yes.
Um, uh,
He never did. He was never weird or did anything
yeah,
weird. I remember though. the ending of the band did come from him.
Right.
And if I'm not mistaken, and he was kind of like, you know, yeah, those guys are smoking weed, and I want to be more serious, you know. And so
Right.
we were like, yeah, we're smoking weed, yeah.
Right. It's a rock band.
It's a rock band, but it was totally fine. The outcome of it was it was up and down because I didn't know for about 6 months or so what was going to happen. But you know, it all ended fine. And I think if I saw him today or any of those other guys, I'd just give him a huge hug and
Right.
you know, slap him
That's
five.
fucking wild. That's
It's
crazy.
wild, man.
And
I have
Gucci has
more stuff
always
like that
been
too.
like that dude is an insane player.
He is an insane player. He was an insane player then too, but he's
Right.
an insane player.
Yeah.
I saw his Radio City Music Hall. I mean, to be able to do on that large a scale, all those working parts, all those, you know, people, production. We're not just talking to people on stage. You know, we're talking for a show that big, there's got to be crew coming out the ass, man.
There's
And he's
times
just
as
doing
many
his
people that there are on stage behind the scenes making those shows happen.
yeah, yeah. But who would have known? You know, yes, he was great, but who would have known that this, you know? But another player that I grew up. Well, I didn't really grow up with him. I guess I met him when I was 16, and I started playing with this band called the Imaginary Heroes. um, Shout out to Christian. But Benji Hughes. Benji Hughes. Yeah, yeah, yeah. He is an incredible songwriter.
Yeah.
And he was an incredible songwriter then. He was 15. I remember him playing us a song on a hippie hill in Freedom Park in Charlotte, North Carolina, when I was 16 and he was 15. And I remember hearing the song and just being like, is this dude an adult? like
Yeah.
he's like Art and Garfunkel over here. It was a real song.
Right.
It was a real song, and his emotion, his delivery, his nonchalance with his talent that was so far surpassing any level of talent I had seen in my 16 years.
Right.
And I knew that all I wanted to do was play his songs, you know, and cut to now that guy is writing for a bunch of people and has, you know, songs in movies and
Right.
TV ads and is just one of the great minds of our time. I'm sounding too cheesy here, but like literally one of the great literary minds of our time. I heard somebody else talking about him the other day. Um, um, Super producer
Rick Rubin.
Rick Rubin
Right.
was talking about him the other day, and I'm just like, whoa, you know. I played with that guy.
Meeting people along your way that are hyper talented is really important.
It really is.
I think it's maybe more important than having uh, only having famous, you know, media presented talent. You know, like having a real life person in front of you doing something that blows your mind is way more inspiring than hearing a record. You know, it's
Yes.
a different way because all of a sudden that this shit is real.
This shit is real. This shit is so real. And you know, the funny thing about life is you can have a feeling and think that is somehow a premonition, of something to come. Like, well, this guy's got all the elements, and, but you don't know
You don't know.
what's going to happen. With Benji, you were kind of like, he's got all the elements, and this motherfucker keeps going like this. Dude, there was no thought that it wouldn't be that,
Right.
It just blew me away. I remember, and every time I've seen him since then has blown me away, man. And the same with Nile Rodgers. Same with all the other heavy cats that I've met and gotten to play with. Antibalas is a tremendous rhythm section as well, and became, I think, maybe 3 or 4 years ago, but probably longer ago than that, became an in-demand rhythm section for backing these series of concerts at Carnegie Hall that Michael Dorff was putting on in Manhattan. And I don't know how we got on the list for that, but through that we ended up playing with even more of our heroes.
Can you fucking imagine for a second when you got that cassette tape of Bad Brains, like, whoa, this is wild, that you would be playing Carnegie fucking Hall?
Never, never, never. I thought that mine would be a career that would be in those, graffitied up places that Bad Brains was playing. When I saw Fishbone play the first time, I was like, this is the new model. This is everything. I want to be every person in this band. And they're going to be, the biggest thing ever. And they still are to me, but I think it is what it is. Their career has done this thing where people are like, oh, we don't know what to do. But I never would have thought that, that I'd be nominated for a Grammy and they would not.
Right.
That's like, yeah,
That's one of the weirdest things when
yes,
you see someone that you grew up idolizing or putting on a pedestal, and you realize that wherever you're at in your career, even if you haven't, like, you know, even if your success is modest, or if it's
yeah,
great, or it's, let's face it, it's a fucking snake. Uh,
yeah,
to see someone that you admire struggling or not getting the recognition that in your heart you feel like they deserve. It's a weird thing. It's weird. It's hard to not feel guilty.
yeah, yeah, totally. Um,
But
yeah,
but if you work hard, you deserve what comes to you. It's just
yeah,
a lot of people work hard and don't get it, and that
yeah.
sucks. That's
It does. I mean, and look, at the end of the day, a lot of really really amazing things have happened. Um, but I don't uh, tend to focus on those things as they're happening because I feel like there's so much more I can do. There's so much higher I can go. And and my whole thing is like, until I can buy my mom a house, and fill that house with all the things she wants. I haven't, really, achieved the goal. And even then, you need to set another goal, or you're gonna go crazy. So, um,
Did your mom come see you play at Carnegie?
no, she wasn't able to. No, no, she wasn't able to. But and the funny thing is, my parents haven't really seen a lot of my shows,
Right.
and I'm not sure what that um, did to my pursuit. I don't know if that helped it or hindered it. I don't know. I know a lot of kids that, or a lot of adults, that their parents, they were like, oh, you want to play piano? We're going to buy you the greatest piano there is. And we're going to get you the greatest teachers and da 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 da. And you're going to da da da. I didn't have that. My parents were definitely supportive of me. But they were like, well, if you want to do this, you cut that grass. you want to buy a drum set, get on that lawnmower.
Same.
And it would, yeah. And so that made me, work for it. But at the same time, they wanted a lawyer, and they were like, we're not going to encourage this shit.
Right.
Pick up a book. And so, but it wasn't until I got out of the house where they were like, oh shit, he's serious. Maybe we should have given it. But at that point I had it. And I was like, I don't want it. I don't need it.
Good.
So, and so, and it's funny. My dad now, like, I'm the Grammy, whatever, but my dad is he's so cute because you can't tell him that we're not famous. Right. Like, nobody knows who the fuck I am. Nobody cares.
But my son, he's an Antibalas.
But he's like, before you were famous, he says stuff like that. I'm like, yeah, okay, He's like, and I just love it. I love it. It's so funny. I can't bring myself to tell him, Dad, I'm not famous.
Before I forget, you mentioned earlier, a long time ago, you were talking about when you're on stage, you either felt or maybe you still feel a little bit like you're a member of the audience because there's so many people on stage and there's so much going on. And once you're on stage, material is well rehearsed. How much improvisation is going on to where you have to really be you have to be like really in it, and how much of it can you leave the performance a little bit and you're on autopilot and you can just experience what's happening on stage and off stage? Or like, does that make sense? Like, how much
yeah
do you get to enjoy as a spectator as well as a performer?
It's actually a really good question. I think I get to enjoy as a viewer. It might even be as half as great as half the show, where I'm like looking around, and that's the other thing about being a musician. You that has done it for a long time. I can walk and chew gum, so I can look at my fellow members and, we're communicating, we're talking. That's another really big thing about Afrobeat is it's very, very much question and answer music. There is the beginning part of the phrase will be one instrument. It's answered by another instrument on the backside of the phrase a lot of times. And so, this communication sometimes comes with eye contact. We've rehearsed it enough to where it doesn't need it, but sometimes when it gets eye contact, there's a different element. There's something there that didn't happen before, and you can really have a conversation. You can really have an interaction, and other people on stage can catch it. And if I'm watching, if I'm paying attention to what's going on and not just losing myself in this groove that we're building, then I can be a part of that conversation too. I can, an accent or a rest, can influence my other, band members' decisions on what they're going to do now. I love that. And yes, I am watching, paying attention, but I'd say half of the time I am locked into the mental meditation that happens when you're, oh, my brother-in-law is calling.
Oh, I was like, well, that was crazy. Uh-oh. Oh, you bailed. There we go.
Oh, so sorry.
We're back. That's all right, man. It's all right.
Okay, my brother-in-law, my nephew just called me, and I I hit the end, but I think it ended you. Okay.
Yeah.
Um, but what was I saying? Oh gosh.
You're talking about being in the trance of
Oh
performance
yeah.
versus
Very the shakerate is very much a trance instrument. I feel a good portion of the show I'm uh, trying to jog myself out of this state of um, floating above the stage,
right.
Um, yeah, definitely.
I
I
imagine
hope that answers.
when things are like really locked in, where it's, you know, I've never been I've never been on stage with a band that big, but
Mm,
I'm like I've mentioned, like I am just like I'm possessed by the idea. I've been possessed by the idea because I feel like there's an opportunity there. Heavy music in terms of like stoner and doom metal and all that stuff. I feel like that's such a thing, and and that's all fine and good. I'm not talking shit about doom. It's cool, but I feel like it's there's not a lot of subtlety, and I feel like a
right.
lot of the heaviest music that I've ever heard isn't heavy because of the tonality.
Mm,
Heavy because of the delivery. It's
mm-hmm.
it's the heaviness is in the gravity of the music, not
Yeah,
in the massiveness of the decibels and
yeah,
the low frequencies or whatever. Um,
yeah. Get a tricky record.
right?
Like that's you're just like, whoa, this is deep.
Yeah,
Um, I heard some Tibetan throat singing stuff that just like
some of that
floors.
the Tuvan shit.
Yeah,
Oh yeah,
you know, with the
Gamelan
whistling at
music.
the same time with the, oh man, yeah,
Gamelan music
that's
will fuck you up. It's heavy, and then it's also like when it gets weird, you're like, whoa.
yeah.
You know, yeah,
It's
no,
it's wild how people have engineered things to bring up the, you know it's like you get that feeling when you're experimenting, you find it and you're like, oh, let's go back there, and then you got it, you've captured it in the bottle, and then you're handing it out to people.
right.
um that's that intensity, man, is pretty incredible when you perfect that so that you can you know pull that dynamic out when you need it. It's just that's what I want to have. And when you have a ton of people on stage and you lock and you all have a sense of that, okay, we're gonna throw out gonna bring the hair raising part right now. We all ready? Are we all ready? Like, yeah,
Like
that's
one
it's
body,
incredible.
right? It's
Yes,
that's the way it is.
yes,
It's like one body. You introduce something into your body, and one of the organs in your body says, "Okay, time for this to happen." Your brain is like, "Hey, uh,
yes.
release the kraken," or whatever. I don't know.
I'm thinking of the Mel Brooks the Mel Brooks movie about the human body where they're all in his brain. Yeah, it's like, oh, I think we might need to take the pants off. Yeah, it's
How, when you perform with small groups of people now, on the occasion that you do you feel exposed or like naked in a strange way ever? Does it
I,
feel like, oh shit?
I do, um, but it is a relief in a certain sense. As you know, one of our friends in common is a cat named Timo Ellis.
Yeah, an incredible.
Watch your toes, because the names are dropping. Um, Timo Ellis and his incredible ass is just, has been a good friend and was literally the studio neighbor to Antibalas' studio for a long time. Yeah.
In
Yeah.
Williamsburg?
Say what?
In Williamsburg?
In Williamsburg, yeah. Yeah. And that great place that he had. Did you ever go there?
Yeah.
That place was, that is the dream spot.
Yeah.
That's the dream spot.
Right?
It's gone. Yeah.
Yeah.
And there were a lot of hot cats in there. A lot of like really great musicians in that place.
Yeah.
But yeah, Timo is one of those cats that, he just has everything. And when he comes to you and says, "Hey man, can you do this thing? I know that you're really good at this. I want you to do this." The feeling in me is, oh, he sees that, and I think I do have a little bit. Well, God damn it, I'm gonna get, let's go.
Yeah.
And because I like him, because he's a good dude.
Yeah.
And
incredible.
And I know that he's on this high level. I'm working. I want to do the best thing I've ever done. Right. And so, yes, I'm naked. Yeah, but I'm trying to get better.
Right.
I'm trying to get better, and he's one of those cats. He's one of those cats. Like, I would love for him and Benji and some other cats that I know to like meet and maybe do something together. I think that would be tremendous. Yeah.
Benji better get ready for some low bass frequencies. Weirdness.
Yeah. Yeah.
Some
yeah.
That doom.
Yeah. Every time I talk to Timo, like when he is talking about his gear, I feel like I'm in that scene from it just flew out of my head. The band, Christopher Guest.
Yeah.
Yeah. Where he's like, well, your amps have an 11. Is that what is that? And he's like,
Spinal Tap.
Well, that's Spinal Tap.
This one.
I feel like I'm talking to
ten a little bit one louder.
It's one louder, isn't it?
This one goes.
That's what I feel like when I'm talking to Timo. He's like, yeah, well, I have this thing that makes all these things blow your eardrums out. I'm like, oh, well, okay.
My favorite thing is that, a lot of records, you get records and they say Timo shares a lot of music with me and I listen to it every time, and it's because it's always great. But and a lot of records, you get them and they say, please enjoy this record loud. If you go to Timo's room, like that's the only way there is.
That's the only way, dude.
There's no volume. There's no slider for the
no.
It's just like off or off the hook.
Those are his dynamics.
That's it. And yeah, no, it's incredible. I'm super stoked that he was like, oh, my buddy Marcus, he would be great for this.
That's so cool, man.
And then here we are.
He's so great, man. He's so great for that. He's yeah, man. I remember he mentioned it. I was like, wow. Me? Okay. All right. Let's see. And it was fun. It was so fun.
Man, that's what we do. We have fun. Yeah. That's all I just want to have fun.
Yeah, man. That's all it's about, man.
You're going to get a call when my Rare Lizard band comes together.
Oh, I'm so down. I'm totally serious. Look, if I could say that you were talking about the 15-year-old me, if I could tell the 15-year-old me that I was playing with somebody that played with KMFDM, I'd probably just shit myself. I'd probably shit myself. I mean, yeah. So another milestone met. Thank you.
Buddy, you are welcome. And you, again, you killed it. You're amazing. and you sang it beautifully. Or I mean, I got no, no slight to the Chili's, but
Oh yeah, of course. No slight to the Chili's.
our, I
That was
think,
also what I was listening to coming up. You couldn't pry that out of my hands either.
well, that stuff was, you know,
Yeah.
it was pretty. There was, there's a lot of lyrical content that's pretty sophomoric, but
Yeah, of
for a
course, of
kid,
course.
you don't give a fuck about that. It's almost like, yeah,
Oh hell yeah.
crazy.
Hell yeah, as a kid. Please, I want more of that.
But the music's
I
very energetic. But I think
yeah,
our version is,
that's the yeah.
we were more refined. I think it was kind
Salt and pepper.
I think it was better. Um, but yeah. But no, thank you so much for killing it.
Oh, thank you. I honestly like I was like, okay, what does he want? Okay. Does he just want percussion? Okay, I'll just do the percussion. Then I was like, well, okay, it sounds like a gang vocal in the chorus. Let me go ahead and do that. Well, actually the lead is a gang vocal too. Maybe Kiedis was like, they did it together. I'll just do, and if he wants all of this, he can keep it. If he doesn't, he can cut it. And then I watch it and everything's still there. And I was like, oh, okay.
No, it showed up
Yeah.
and it was so great. I was just like, well, the search is over.
The funny thing is that has happened to me many times where somebody will send me something and just go, hey, put a shaker on there. And I'm okay, put a shaker. But I hear something. And look, the worst thing is to be in a session and start telling the producer, oh, when you're like a hired gun or whatever, start telling the producer, oh, I don't like that. Or you should try to, no, I don't,
Right.
and but I heard a little something and but I also gave different versions, but at the same time, it just felt really cool.
Yeah.
And I'm so grateful that it, that it hit you,
No,
you know.
it was great. And I mean, clearly you're having a good time and you're in it. The performance is fucking incredible. It made me so happy. I was smiled through the whole, like, I saw the video the first time and I was just like, "Oh my god, this is amazing." And then and every time I've seen it since then, I've like that feeling hasn't diminished at all. So,
Oh, that's awesome, man. Thank you.
deal.
I am very, very thankful. Very thankful.
Listen, man, I've kept you for an hour longer than I intended to because you know what they say about time flying. But
It does. It does.
you're
And
fucking
well,
great.
time flies when a motherfucker talks his ass off. That's what it that's what it is.
That's great. The more you talk and the less I talk, is the better. Um, but you're great. Uh,
Thank you.
do you have makeup dates coming? You guys hitting the road?
Yeah, we do actually.
Talk to me.
We have uh and I should also say the Antibalas has a sister band called Armo, which is a 5-piece Afrobeat freeform jazz thing. Um, and Armo is going to be performing very soon, I'm sure, at a place called Bar Lunatico in Brooklyn. But more importantly, let's go to Antibalas, what we have on the books for the next few months. June 10th, Antibalas is playing the BAM Gala. That's BAM. The gala, the big thing they do every year. Obviously, they didn't do it last year. I think it was virtual last year, but this year is going to be Bush Women, Urban Bush Women, a dance collective, contemporary dance collective, and Sir Patrick Stewart and us will be the invited guest for this year for this year's
Where's that
gala.
down?
Sorry.
Is that in Prospect Park?
That is, I believe so. I believe so. It is the. I know you can go to bam.com and get all information there. You can buy tickets there, and they should have all that information there because it's one of their satellite theaters. It's outside, if I'm not mistaken, and
Yeah.
so I don't know the
Okay.
perfect
I
logistics of
want to
that.
plug it up at the top.
Yeah, please. The BAM Gala
All right.
is that thing, and then
Patrick, you
uh,
think you'll meet Patrick Stewart?
oh, I'm going to work to meet Patrick Stewart.
What kind of shit do you
Um,
say to Patrick Stewart?
what do you? I don't know. I don't know. I
Just
have no idea. I have no idea. Uh, uh, I, I have no idea.
yeah.
I'll probably like not say anything and wait for him to say something.
Just like sneak up behind him at craft service and
Yeah,
bump him and
yeah.
oh, sorry, I'm sorry, I didn't see you there.
I'll just be like, "Excuse me, sir. I don't want a picture." Um, or something like that. I'll just ask him like, "What shoes do you like?" I like to do weird things like that. And then later in this summer, after I regain my ethical code, we are doing a show. Um, uh, oh gosh, I have it written down here because I wanted to. Oh, it is the uh, uh, Central Park Summer Stage.
Oh yes.
Yeah, that's August 21st, if I'm not mistaken.
Uh-huh.
And that will be incredibly fun. Those shows are like, I mean, imagine people not being able to go outside of their apartment or
No,
their
the
house
August
for a
summer is
year.
gonna be bananas.
It's gonna be bananas, dude. It's gonna be bananas. So Antibalas, Central Park Summer Stage. I think it's August 21st,
Amazing.
and then I think a couple of days after that, we're doing the DC Cannabis Cup. So that is going to happen, and and more stuff to come. I think we're going to start off kind of slow, and
Yeah.
then build it up as we go throughout the year.
Because you guys had plans to tour last year. Of course, nobody
Yeah,
toured
and
last year.
the Cannabis Cup is a makeup date, and we have
Oh,
several more makeup dates on the books. Yeah,
right. I'll
yeah.
direct people to the website.
Please, yes, antibalas.com. Yeah, yeah,
Awesome.
yeah. And what are you doing?
Oh, dude. You know, I
You
got
have shows?
I've got I'm like I've got a couple of gigs as a sub now.
Okay,
I can't talk about, but it will involve some international touring, which is great.
right
I
on.
haven't got to do that in a long time.
That's very
The
cool.
other thing is like it's a Bowie tribute band that plays in the Northeast, I think primarily. It's fun.
Nice.
It's like a weekend thing, so
Okay, yeah.
I got a day gig, so that's great.
Yeah,
Uh,
that's totally great. That's really, really good. You're playing beautiful shit. You can put your
there's
stamp
that
on it.
thing. I'm working on, and you might get a call from me down the road because here's the thing that I'm working on for couch riffs. Uh, I want to do it. There's a next iteration of couch riffs, and that is
Okay.
like a cross between Charlie Rose and who's that English fucker with that has like the four bands or five
Oh,
Jules.
no,
Jules Holland.
uh, I almost said
Holland.
Giles Peterson. No,
Jules Holland.
Jules Holland.
Yeah.
Jules Holland.
So
Yeah,
it'd be like a cross between those two things where but with all of the components of what I've already been doing, right?
I love that.
So I'll do a podcast, basically just sit at a at a table with someone in front of a with an audience, probably in a rock club, um, and then have a mishmash band, people, not like a band, but
Yeah,
and then at the end, myself, my guest, and this put together band will do 5 or 6 fucking
Oh, dude.
unexpected songs. So,
Yes.
you know,
I love it. I
that's
love
the
it.
idea.
I actually did a little something like that in 2007.
Really?
Yeah, I I was bartending at a bar called Pianos um, on the Lower East Side,
Yep.
and I had a couple of nights, shifts, and I remember one of our other bartenders had just started dating this girl that was on America's Next Top Model, and the owners were like, "Hey, tell your girlfriend she's got a shift whenever she wants," and she wanted my shift, and so they gave it to her, and they felt bad, so they said, "Listen, you can DJ or whatever, just you can do something where we don't want to totally screw you like that." And I said, "Okay, let me figure something out. Oh, I'll do a talk show." And so, yeah, you can still see. I hope that you won't, but you can still see it on YouTube. It's called the Marcus Farrar Show, and I basically coined the tagline was like a place where all my friends come to talk about their shit. Because basically, as we know a ton of musicians, right? We know a ton of people doing stuff, dancers, whatever, and they want to talk, just like I did today. They won't stop until you tell them to stop. And I would have them come to the bar. I made this little desk, and I literally would have them. And I had a house band. I had a house band.
You did.
Yeah, I had a house band, and the band would play, and I'd do the show, and I had an audience. It was really funny. It was really funny. Or
How
I
many
wasn't the really
shows
funny
did you
part, but
do?
it was funny.
How many shows did you do?
I did maybe 7 or 8, and I only stopped it. I would have kept going, but I only stopped it because I got a gig with Blue Man Group.
Right.
And so I moved to Vegas to do Blue Man, and the show was over. But I keep thinking like maybe I should pick it up again. But I you know I'm in 100% behind you on doing that, man. I think you could take it to the fucking next level, man.
My plan
Yeah,
is
yeah.
to travel it. Like
Ooh,
well, yeah, I mean, you know, I'm
I
gonna,
love that.
I'm gonna work out. I'm gonna kick the dust off probably with a few in Brooklyn. I have a spot, and then probably go to LA and do one there. Go to Seattle. That's where I know a lot of people in Seattle because I lived there for so long. Probably Portland, maybe
Okay.
Austin, Nashville, places where I know a lot of people.
Oh man, do this. Do this.
Right? No, I
Yeah.
mean, yeah, it's like it's one of those things like anything. All of a sudden, now I'm an adult. Now I'm a 50-year-old adult. Quick quotations, and there's that thing in your mind. Like when you're a kid, you're like, okay, well, can I do this? Now I'm 50 and I have a different set of responsibilities. So there's a lot of balancing act that I've got. There's a
Mm.
lot of sorting out to do.
A lot of balancing, but I would suspect a lot less of the mental roadblocks that would have
Yeah,
stopped you when
yeah,
you were
yeah,
younger,
yeah, yeah.
right?
No, no, no.
Yeah.
Right now I'm in the mindset of like I can do anything I want.
Exactly.
A
Yes.
matter of it's just a matter of do I have enough time to do it? Like
Right.
every day, that's one thing that I
Yeah.
recognize in my life now is that time is
Hmm.
time is everything,
Hmm.
right? Because you
Hmm.
have the time you have, that's what you have, and you gotta sleep. Otherwise, the time you have tomorrow is going to be bunk.
Yeah. And there's less of it now. You
That's right.
know. As you look, I'm 46. I hope I'm not at the midpoint, but when you are close to the midpoint, you see how much less of it you have than you had before the midpoint. So it's, yeah, all those things. And and I can't do the Eddie Van Halen split, so we got to go. Come on.
No doubt.
you
But
know?
yeah, you know, uh, don't be surprised if you hear from me.
I would love it. I would love it. I would jump for joy, man. I would do some Eddie Van Halen splits.
Well, listen, man. Uh, Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I've had a great time talking with you.
Oh man, the pleasure has been mine.
Don't be a stranger if you find yourself. We're up here by Hudson, New York.
Okay.
You know,
I love that area, man. And
uh,
I actually have a good friend of mine and his wife and his new baby just moved up there. So you might see me. You might see me
okay.
soon. Yeah. He's I don't know if he's in Hudson. I think he's in I gotta look the city up again. But he's upstate and it's I'm sure he's not right next door to you, but somewhere close. And I could
You
probably
never know.
swing. Yeah, you never know. And I could probably swing both.
You never know. Well,
Yeah.
have a great night, man.
Thank you.
Don't be
Thank you,
a
man.
stranger.
Same to you.
All
Same to
right.
you. All right, man.
I'll see you.
Yeah, yeah.